What's up, everyone? Jason Gilbo here with Nick Tasso, breaking down our three favorite stacking options for tonight's slate. You and I both have a unanimous number one decision here. Looking at Cleveland.
Yeah, I never said it was number one, but I just agree with you that Cleveland's one of those teams that met my top three tonight. They're in a good ballpark, facing a pretty bad left-handed starter, and even though a couple guys in there are lefties, they still do a lot of damage against lefties. So I don't mind it because you get a lot of guys who turn around, switch hitters. But yeah, that's definitely the number one stack that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, you look at Holland, 394 WOBA to righties this year, 36% ground ball rate, below a 20% strikeout rate. Yeah, as you mentioned, some of these guys turn over and hit, from the right side. Lindor is one of those notable names who actually really does well from that side. 376 WOBA, 191 ISO. Obviously, you have Encarnacion, Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana even. That's kind of where you got to make that decision. But I think there's some good guys. I love Yan Gomes tonight. I think he's that other one, even though he's back in the lineup. I love Yan Gomes against a lefty.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Maybe even if Bradley Zimmer's in there, even though probably not because it's a lefty matchup. But if he's there, I don't really mind him. He's been hitting well lately. So kind of just, to me, it's a wait and see for the lineup just to see where everyone's out. But I agree with you, though. Cheap guy Yan Gomes, even though he is lower in the lineup, you sort of have to roster him at that price tag.
Yeah, I'm with you. And as you mentioned, yeah, Zimmer, it could be Geyer, it could be Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson should be in the line no matter what. He's actually been really good against lefties this year, 422 WOBA, 250 ISO. So 1 through 9, this lineup has a ton of bats to use.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all know Derek Holland is not a good pitcher anymore, and this ballpark isn't going to help him at all.
No, definitely not. Moving on to our other stacks, you're taking a look at the Dodgers going up against Matt Moore. Dodgers got a lot of right-handed bats now with some pop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at Matt Moore, and he has the over 7 ERA on the road, and he's just been really awful away from AT&T Park. So definitely like a lot of these guys. One guy in particular would be Logan Forsythe. I know he's had an awful year, but his numbers against lefties are still good. And you look at guys like Justin Turner, even though he does hit righties better, he still can do some power. And then you have your usual suspects with Seager and Bellinger. And then obviously Chris Taylor, too, can do some damage against lefties.
Yeah, I mean, this one's just absolutely loaded. You mentioned Seager, Bellinger. I mean, both those guys still hit lefties well. They're not automatically taken out with the lefty on the hill. I love Kike Hernandez. I love Austin Barnes. I think those are two intriguing options on tonight's slate as well that are probably going to get overlooked maybe in the stack, but not on the slate. But I'm with you. I think this is another playable one, as you mentioned. Moore is just a guy who's been struggling this year. He's actually given us some home runs to lefties as well.
Yeah, Moore is not good at all. And the thing, too, about
that sums it up.
Yeah. Well, the Dodgers, too, they're priced pretty nicely. So, I mean, a lot of guys are under 4K that you could roster tonight. I mean, I know we've talked about Yasiel Puig this year, and just it's hard to roster him batting eighth. But I don't know. I mean, I don't mind it if he's in the lineup and maybe he hits seventh. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't mind that as well. Looking at the Yankees as my second stack here, they've they've cooled off for the last month or so. They get Pruitt tonight. This is a guy who doesn't have a big major league sample size, but doesn't strike out a ton of bats. Dug into his minor league numbers. It wasn't anything impressive. I think, he flashed some upside in AAA, but over a really small sample size. Outside of that, I mean, pretty average numbers, and just coming up against a team with a ton of power. I just look at guys like, even Brett Gardner, who's shown some power this year, but Judge, Sanchez, Clint Frazier, Didi Gregorius, these guys are all not badly priced on tonight's slate, and I think this is a slate where you can still fit top price stacks in with pitching it and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I think my issue is because I just don't like their prices compared to other guys on the lineup, but I definitely think they're going to do well. With that said, I do like Brett Gardner because he has those games where he just kind of goes off and gets 2 home runs, and it just is surprising points out of him. So I don't mind him. I probably would fade Judge just because his price tag is up there, and there's some other guys I like in that price range. But yeah, I can definitely see rostering some of these guys.
Yeah, Judge, I mean, 5'6", you can always make the case to fade some of the top price bats. I'm with you. I think, with that being said, the Gardner Frazier. I don't think Sanchez is badly priced. If you want to skip over Judge, I think that's fine. And kind of hope for that, 1-for-4 game, and maybe he doesn't ship in, but everyone else does.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely possible. And I kind of like your play Clint Frazier, not Todd Frazier.
The Frazier brothers.
Yeah, Todd's just not doing it anymore. But then again, he got a couple hits to back games, so maybe he's going to hit 220 for the rest of the year. Who knows?
He did drive in that run on a triple play.
That's true. That is true. I just can't believe what happened to him so fast. He was like this up and coming great hitter, and all of a sudden just down in the dumps.
Was he though? Yeah, he had a couple seasons over 30. I feel like he was kind of a late bloomer. He was never an average guy. He was always going to hit 240 and 30 plus homers.
But now he's down near the 200s.
Yeah, I feel like he's been a little bit unlucky.
I mean, you look at say 240 compared to like 260. There's not a big difference, but then once you go down to say the 210s range, I think there's a little bit of a huge gap right there.
Yeah, I guess. All right, back to stacking. Marlins, you're taking a look at. This is a team that put up 22 runs 2 games ago, going up against Sal Romano. These are two of probably the worst pitchers on the slate here.
Yeah, absolutely. I know this is in Miami, but I mean, this ballpark actually is really nice lately. You look at this team; they didn't do so well last time they faced Sal, but I think second time around, now that they've seen him a little bit more, they have a little bit more tape on him, and they can kind of figure out what to do against him. Stinks that Bohr's out, but you still got Stanton. That's one of the guys who I would veer off of from Judge, just because he's just so phenomenal almost every game. I know sometimes he does have the 0-for-4s, but I think he does some damage against Romano here, who did put him 0-for-4 last time he faced him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like the Marlins. I think, the Stanton, Yelich, Ozuna core is pretty solid tonight. D. Gordon. I even don't mind Real Muto or Dietrich, who's kind of come to life as well over the last week or so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you have your top price guys over 4, like Stanton, Ozuna, and Yelich, and even D. Gordon, but then you can find some value a little bit further down, like you said, with Dietrich and Real Muto.
My stack here, my third one, I'm looking at Atlanta. This one that's going to be overlooked on tonight's slate. You're looking at a pretty good ballpark, especially for these lefties. You got really, I mean, Jeremy Hellickson's been a guy who we've been picking on really both sides of the plate. I mean, 330 WOBA to righties, 351 WOBA to lefties. He doesn't miss bats. I mean, strikeout rate below 15% on both sides. I like the lefties here a lot. I know you and I have talked about this, but playing Freddie Freeman at third, Matt Adams at first. You have guys like Matt Kemp, Inciarte. I know Inciarte and Markakis aren't the biggest power guys, but they're definitely guys that can go have a multi-hit game, bring in a couple runs, drive in a couple runs, and still put up a decent score.
Yeah, I think this is the most cost-efficient stack out there. You have everyone under 4K outside of Freddie Freeman, and they still have potential. Kemp and Adams are big bats. Obviously, they don't always produce, but their matchup here in the ballpark is pretty favorable for them.
Yeah, I like this one quite a bit. I think there was a little bit of weather concern on the East Coast tonight, but I think this game was actually the safer of the East Coast games. So do note that. It might even add to the lower ownership.
Yeah, totally. We haven't had great weather. It rained here yesterday, and the East Coast wasn't fun, but it is what it is.
Any stack that just missed your radar tonight on a full game?
Oh boy, you always do this to me. How about a late notice? Do you like this one? Kansas City Royals.
Yeah, I was looking at them, and now that Brian Johnson's starting, they're super cheap, and they're in Fenway. Yeah, I mean, guys like Bonifacio, Kane, Merrifield, Salvador Perez, those are interesting right-handers now.
The only downside is I think a lot of people might be going that way now that Brian Johnson is starting in place of the crybaby David Price. But I think it's still kind of worth it.
I think so too. I mean, I'm gonna definitely have some exposure now. I'm looking at this Texas-Baltimore game. Andrew Cashner, Chris Tillman. This has potential to just be either one of the biggest letdown games for offense, or there's going to be 30 runs put up.
Yeah, I can totally see it. It can go really either way. I mean, we've seen games by Cashner where he's done okay. Tillman, not so much, but he still has that in them. I think it was, a year or two ago where he had a sub-4 ERA or something, which is a lot better than his 7 ERA. So it was there at one point in his career. Maybe it'll come back, but I don't think in this game it will. Texas, that ballpark, the heat in Arlington right now is just going to let balls fly out.
Yeah, I've lost money stacking against Tillman his last 2 starts, which was against Texas and Houston. But I'll go back to the well here. Texas is a better team that hits better at home. I think Baltimore is just more of that one-off team. I can't really see stacking them tonight.
Yeah, on Tillman, third time is always the charm. Remember that.
I hope so. So that's going to wrap it up. Got big slates. Indians, Dodgers, Braves, Yankees, and Marlins were our 3. And looking, I think you and I are both in play for Kansas City here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a fun one in Fenway. There's going to be a lot of more controversy swirling around the club just because it's in shambles and it's going to be like 2011 all over again. But it is what it is.
Minus the beer and chicken wings.
I think they're going for boneless chicken wings this year.
Gotta change it up.
They're little have to work around the bones.
Yeah, they're too high end. This is too much of a high end team to pick around the bones. It's not as blue collar as that team was.
No, they need the fork and a knife to cut their chicken.
Oh, God. All right. That's going to wrap it up. You can head over to DaveFantasyCafe.com. Check out our great tools and content.